everyone. Welcome to Tech with Peter. My name is Peter Mbanogo, and joining me today is Usama Masud, the CEO of WPQuik. And today we are talking about WordPress. Most of my videos so far has been on generic core web vitals, SEOs, and I think we had one WordPress kind of talk with Robin. I think Robin Villeneuve from Canada, and it was a good conversation. Also, like a quick start to WordPress performance or like things to watch out for. So I'm happy to have another round with Masood here. I think you're based in Turkey, right?
Yes, I'm based in Istanbul, Turkey, and been living there for a few years and loving it here.
Awesome. So Usama is, I say your name correctly, right? Usama. Do I say
Yes,
it?
correct. That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, so you're the CEO of WPQuik and you specialize in WordPress performance optimization. Could you share a bit more about, about yourself, maybe how you got started in the web dev industry and then decided to focus on WordPress performance? I know we spoke about this, I think a month ago or two, but I'll be happy for the listeners to get to know more about you and your journey to being a WordPress performance expert.
Yes, so I started WordPress in 2010 when I was back in like university time, and since then I have been working with WordPress, been about 14 years now. Around 2013, 2014, I was approached by a client who was looking for some speed optimization. And that is the time when I shifted all of the focus on specifically WordPress speed. And since then, I have set up my own agency. We have been working with mostly US-based clients, like 90% of the clients are from the US, but we do work with European clients, from Australian clients and more. So yeah, it's been great. And the fantastic thing about WordPress is, I mean, like 62% of the web is powered by WordPress. So it's a big chunk, and there is so much about WordPress speed specifically that there's a big gap in the market. There are tons of sites, but not enough sites that are fast enough. So that's when I thought, okay, I mean, it's a good area. It's a thing people absolutely need help with, and it's been fantastic ever since.
Ah, awesome. And how, or should I ask a bit differently now? I'm not a WordPress expert like you, but I've been seeing
Mhm.
a recent drama about the WordPress.org, the WP engine saga, and how did that affect you? Like your business? Were you considering switching over from WordPress to something different, or how did your clients deal with that?
Absolutely. So most clients, so the drama was, as you might know, was between WP Engine and WordPress org, and I'm not going to say who takes sides right now, obviously
Okay.
for obvious reasons, but I think it's been, to be honest, the ground reality is we are fine. We are doing great. I mean, I don't think so. The businesses are affected, like the end users. Yes, there was a time. It started, I think, around October and went pretty, on the wrong side, not ideal. And I had been following this a lot on Reddit and some other stuff. You might have read the stuff posts there. I think the end user is not affected as much as there was a little bit decline at the time. There were some issues, but I don't think so. So the whole drama was between WP Engine and, well, Matt,
Yeah.
the CEO of Automatic, and I mean, no matter what the issue was, everyone was saying. I mean, the issues were supposed to be dealt with behind the curtains and not in front of the customers
Yeah,
and not to affect
exactly.
the customers.
Yeah, but I
Exactly.
hope
And
they've. Sorry, I was going to say I hope they resolve it
uh,
better over time, but let's not get
Exactly,
into the
exactly.
WP engine and WordPress fights. Otherwise, we
Exactly,
have to pick
exactly.
sides. Maybe I pick WP engine and you pick WordPress, but let's not have that fight here.
Yeah, true, true, true. Absolutely. So yeah, true, absolutely.
Yeah. So today we want to walk through how to various ways to optimize WordPress performance, and I have a few questions that I would like to ask you. So feel free, if you have anything to share, do that over the stream. And for the listeners, feel free to drop your
Mhm.
question in the chat box if you have any specific questions. And I would like to start off, about talking about web performance from the business side before we go into the technical details. Hopefully, for non-technical people listening to the conversation, or for people that run their own WordPress site that are also business people, to be able to decide why they should pay attention. And so, my first question would be, why does the website speed matter for business?
So let's take the analogy of a restaurant. Basically, if you go to a fast food restaurant and it serves your meal in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, I don't think so you are going to go there. But if there is another restaurant that serves the same meal in like 30 seconds, I mean, I believe that's how McDonald's started.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if this website is slow, someone comes to your website, they start, okay, they're looking for maybe a handbag, okay? And they start looking at your website, they go to checkout, the checkout is not loading, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. What would they do? They abandon it. They would go to another website. Same is the case with ads. It's very hot topic. We see this every day. Ads are making websites slow, and people are putting more and more on the same page. So the issue is, if you have so many ads, so many scripts, and you want to make more money, you are going to actually make less money, because less is more here. The issue, the main issue is, if you're loading so many ads that your page isn't even loading, do you think people would stay there? Absolutely no. So you got to do it properly. And like Amazon did a study back in, I think, 2006. So every 100 millisecond delay in page load time was affecting their sales by 1%. And for them, it was like, for 1 to 2 seconds delay, it was like billions of dollars. So page speed is super crucial. It's like having a fully loaded heavy truck versus a sports car. I mean, I don't think so
Yeah.
anyone would want to go with a truck. So that's that's how the businesses and websites should be. And Google is ranking websites based on speed as well.
Yeah. So what I understand from your part is majorly around, you know, customer or user conversion. Probably that's also how you got your first client, like you said. The person wanted to optimize their website so that they can get more users to their website. And
Yep.
in this
Yep.
case, faster website, not only for, I think part of it could also be SEO, probably, but also more
Yep.
important about the user experience. I think we all have different experience when we visit websites, and if it's slow, obviously, your users are going to bounce. But as developers, usually you now forget that, you take yourself out of the user perspective and put yourself as the developer, and then write whatever code or use whatever plugins or use whatever themes, and then it looks like the job is done because it works fine on your laptop. But then you don't really use your website, and people from, maybe people on the streets, not on the fast home internet, have a worse experience for that. I think that is why this website speed matters for website. And I see a lot of
Exactly.
e-commerce store doing this, but I think it's also very relevant for non-e-commerce stores. What do you think?
Very true. So, I mean, the website speed is crucial for any website. It does not necessarily have to be e-commerce. I mean, take a website for maybe an organization, a school. someone is just looking for knowledge. And we know more clients, more visitors, more people, more eyeballs on your website simply means more traffic and better for business. No matter what business you are, you don't necessarily need to be just like selling something. And for business it's even more crucial because you are seeing the impact of the speed right away. But even for non businesses, non e-commerce businesses, it is equally important. Someone comes to your website, they have a bad experience, they're not going to come back. Whether it's a blog, whether it's just a showcase website, whether you're writing just sharing knowledge of sorts, no matter what. I mean, I have not heard about a single person until now who likes slow websites. So that's that.
Now, I think I was going to, jokingly say that there's some website where no matter how bad it is, you would always have to go back, and that is your banking app. If they have a, as long as you have money
True,
with them, you have to go back to the site.
true,
So
true.
that is one. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, I mean, but who is to say that someone will not switch their banks if the app is too slow or website is
Yeah,
too slow?
for me, like that calls for the reason why one has to switch banking apps. Gone are the days where you have to go to the banking hall to get banking services. These
Exactly.
days everyone is digital. So on Twitter sometimes I see people tagging their banks and complaining about slow apps, and
Absolutely.
sometimes it
Absolutely.
forces them to switch to a new provider. So uh page speed affects not just e-commerce but overall client side. So we've talked about the why it matters for business in terms of sales and conversion. I would like to hear your thoughts on SEO and Google ranking. I mean, not just Google ranking, but we have various search engine today, like Bing,
Yeah.
and also now there's AI search engine like Perplexity and the likes. So how do you see this website speed affecting your SEO and search ranking?
Exactly. So what the matter here is, a website that's slow, a website that's not performing well, no one likes those websites, including search engine. That's true for Bing and Google as well. And Google recently rolled out their core web vitals, like that's the hot topic these days everywhere, and rightfully so. I mean, that is most important right now. So Google developed these specific metrics like INP, FCP, like first contentful paint, largest contentful paint, and these are the various metrics they developed to measure page loading speed to make it easier for the customer to understand how fast a website is. And Google, based on the latest research, Google does take into account these factors, core web vitals, for SEO. So the faster website you have, the more likely it is to rank higher. And a lot of the people in SEO communities and speed optimization, speed community, web performance community recently did some researches as well. And what they found was, maybe you have checked Chrome extension from Todd Gardner, I think. So he created this extension that if you go to Google and you install this extension, it lists core web vitals for all the pages. And it's very
Oh,
interesting to see that the top 10 results, and I mean, at least 8 or 9 out of 10 would be the websites that are fast enough. So it's not just big brands. It's not just because they have more links, they have more stuff. It's because of the fact that they're faster as well. And so that directly affects. The other way is, I mean, say you have a website that's slow, people are not going to stay there. That means a higher bounce rate, and a higher bounce rate directly means lower conversions, lower traffic. And what happens ultimately, fewer and fewer people will visit your website. So
yeah.
fewer people are going to visit your website, which directly means fewer traffic, and that indirectly means fewer search engine rankings too.
Yeah, and you don't get that organic users coming through search, which I think is still
Exactly.
might be more valuable than placing ads because with ads a lot of people ignore ad, but with search engine, people go to search for their actual problems, and maybe you get lucky, you're on the
Absolutely.
top ranking page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned IMP, which probably some listeners may not be familiar with. And IMP is part of the core Web Vitals, which
Yep.
which is pioneered by Google. It's not supported by
Mhm.
all the browsers yet, but I think this year it's
Yeah.
probably part
Yep.
of the baseline or interop. I'm not sure, but it's something they are working to get it working across browsers. But I would like you to talk about, this, what is this core Web Vitals, and maybe a bit how it affects your WordPress performance, but more trying to help the listener understand what core Web Vitals is, since we are going to be talking more about it.
Yeah, so basically, so about the INP metric you were saying, I believe it was included back in March last year as a core vital metric, and Google has started collecting data on this, if I'm not wrong about the timeline. So core web vitals, if we say from a perspective for a general website owner, for a normal business owner, to simplify this, core web vitals basically are, it gives you a score, a ranking based on how fast your website is, and it's not just fast for one specific person, it's fast for the real users. I'm sure there must have been people talking on your podcast about ROM data, real user monitoring data.
Yeah.
And so I will not go into too much technical details to keep it simple for now. But core web vitals basically, rank your website on a set number of criteria. So for example, how long does it take to show the first layout on your website? So if you load a website and you are seeing a blank page, that means it's not loaded yet. So as soon as you see something on the website, that's generally which is considered first contentful paint, and it's called FCP as well. So that, then the other bigger one, which is the, I should say bigger fish in the pond, is CLS. Uh,
Oh,
Most of the issues we have seen is CLS. People are coming to us saying, we don't know where is it coming from. We don't know where is it coming from. And especially the beginners, one who are not experienced in the area, even those developers, they find it very hard to pinpoint the issues for CLS. So what happens with CLS is cumulative layout shift is what it stands for. And when you load a website, say you're opening a nice, maybe a football website, and there is the slider loads and then it shifts down because there is an ad on top. It's pretty bad, but maybe the customer wanted to click the slider or button or buy something, but when the website shifts during this time, that means they're not able to properly use it, and it essentially makes the user experience pretty bad. So CLS is, cumulative layout shift is one of the other things that people worry too much about. And similarly, there are other metrics, but the short version is a faster website, a website that loads fast is a website Google is happy about. And it's very important to note here that, I mean, a lot of people say, okay, it was loading fast enough on my 1 gigabit broadband connection. That's not necessarily all of your target customers. I mean, not everyone is going to have that. There may be people living in some third world country, or even in a
yeah,
lot of areas, even in the US and others, where they're using mobile connection, they're using 3G, 4G, and they want to do something. So we always try to optimize website for the slowest user, for the slowest browser, to give the best possible experience. And that's something most business owners forget if they're not optimizing their websites.
yeah. I'm curious how the CLS affects screen readers. I would be curious to see how, how that happens when you are, reading through the sites using screen readers, and you are trying to, navigate and click a button, and all of a sudden, there's a
Yep.
layout shift. If that affects
Yeah.
the focus area, or if it's just something that is more worrisome for visual users, that unlike people that use screen readers and can't really see. But that would be an interesting thing to figure out. But
Yep.
do you have any idea how that works with screen readers?
So,
Or
of course, accessibility is not my primary area, but if I were to guess, I think normally with CLS, the layout changes, the painted region, the front end changes. Usually, the underlying HTML, the DOM, the elements do not change. So, I would say it should not affect, in my opinion, but it still makes it harder for someone using screen reader to see where did the element go. So,
yeah.
still a big issue, I think.
Yeah, probably also, I mean, if it's not with CSS, maybe also people using JavaScript that all of a sudden append a big hero image after three
Yep,
seconds.
exactly.
That could also
Exactly.
be like a problem.
True. Yeah, that would be absolutely correct.
Cool. So I think you mentioned a few core web vitals like the FCP, IMP. I mean, people can look up this more info about them on web.dev from Google. But I think another one that maybe doesn't get talked about with core web vitals is also the time to first byte, which I think probably we'll also get
Very
to
important.
talk about later. But those are things to pay
Yep.
attention to. And
Exactly.
do you, from your work with WordPress optimization, what part of the core web vitals or other kind of metrics have you found to be like an easy culprit or an easy target or problem for WordPress websites? Because I think every
So,
framework or every framework have like where they're good at by default, and then there's some part that people easily misuse it, them for, and could also lead to problems. So I'm curious what that is for WordPress.
yes, absolutely. The biggest issues I have seen with WordPress is people still using outdated server. So I was working with a client from the US, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I was shocked to see their hosting still does not support HTTP 2, and we are in the era of HTTP 3. And the issue was, it was kind of, I won't name them, but it was kind of an affiliate hosting. The client was very nice, the support was nice too, but they were reluctant. They wanted to keep the same hosting because they had like I think 20 or 30 websites there. So we talked back and forth, and the project took a lot longer, but we we figured it out at the end anyway. But the way we had to fix it, still their website does not support HTTP 2. So we had to use Cloudflare as a CDN, which proxies the traffic, uses HTTP 2 or actually HTTP 3 in most cases if you enable. And the issue was there was no HTTP 2 multiplexing. There was no parallel. Basically, you are using a really old version of HTTP that's like slowest. So the solution was to use a CDN, Cloudflare in this case, which is both CDN and security firewall. And at the end, we got two pretty good scores, but their hosting still does not support HTTP 2, sorry. And I see so many people on their forums talking about when will it be supported, and to date, as far as I know, their website does not support it.
Wow.
The other biggest issue I've seen, people are still using PHP 7 and older. So I mean, if you want easy wins, just go implement a CDN, ideally Cloudflare, because it gives you additional benefits even on the free plan.
Yeah.
Implement some basic caching, and use like latest PHP version. A lot of times, not every website needs too much work to shift to latest version. Sometimes it's just switching, everything's working fine, but since the person did not know, and they're optimizing just the things on top without fixing the underlying server structure.
Yeah.
So that's another biggest one that we see a lot of times. I was recently I built a simple tool to check about HTTP 2 status on a website, and I was thinking, I mean, probably no one would use it, but I was talking about a few people. I did an AMA as well on Reddit. So many websites, I would say, basically there's a good chunk of websites still using HTTP 1. People are using websites back from 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, not updated even once, and still happening, still
Yeah.
going strong.
Yeah. Probably maybe the it could be maybe they are not like a big or serious business, probably.
Yep.
Other cases, it could
True.
also be that, it's just something, tech is not their thing, so they just have a WordPress blog or website, and
True.
they just keep it running in the background. But yeah,
Yep.
I would expect that.
Though,
Sorry, go ahead.
please. Yes, that as well. And also those people who are like just starting out. So this person I was working with, they were starting out their business, and someone maybe recommended that hosting to them, and they were using it ever since.
Yeah, would be nice to see, like, or rather, for me, it would be a shock to see if the host does not already provide SSL, like HTTPS and HTTP2 connect. At least I think those are like the standard these days. And
Yep.
for my sites these days, like I had a recent website where I enabled, I think, TLS 1.2 by default. So even if you try to access
Yep.
it with HTTP, we'll have to redirect and enforce that TLS version. So some of those things are like things
Absolutely.
I would expect from, like a typical host to be available. But I'm surprised that, you know, it's
Yep.
probably one of those affiliate hosting. Uh,
Yep.
maybe I should even start my hosting company, but then will be very hard to beat those guys because they already have a reputation and people would rather stick to them without worrying about web performance.
True, true. But I think, I mean, you should definitely start. There is still, I think, a big market for people who are reluctant to change their hosting. I mean, the hard part is
Is that
not
a cheap hosting?
to actually no. I think it's not
Really?
one of the cheaper ones. Yes,
Wow.
as far as
Okay.
I know, I think they support basically all sorts of apps. I always recommend, if you can, switch to a managed WordPress hosting, because I mean it's like having a specialized tool for your usage, for your needs.
Yeah.
A generic one is okay. I mean, but for most people, it's not worth spending extra time on managing the server, the manual stuff, and everything in between. So managed WordPress is always the best option.
Oh. And do you have any recommendation, like top two?
So for me, top two would be, we use Kinsta for almost all of our clients. They charge much higher than others,
Which
but
one?
I have not seen this Kinsta.
Oh, Kingstar.
I have not. Kinsta is fantastic. I have not seen any issues with them whatsoever, and we have been working with them like 7 or 8 years. All of our clients are there. The second one, if someone wants to go to a cheaper VPS, Cloudways is good too. I mean, good infrastructure, good speed for a good price for those who are looking for budget options. WP Engine is good too, but we have had better luck with Kinsta so far.
Interesting. Interesting. And would you? Um, I forgot my question, so I just keep it. I was
Of
more
course,
thinking
no
around
problem.
this around the server part, but that might that might make me go behind the scene into stuff. Because sometimes I just enjoy, going into the technical details of like servers and hosting. Like
Yep, yep.
I tried to start a static site hosting service, and after a while I
Okay,
decided
excellent.
to just close it down because already a lot of competition, and I was not ready to kind of do free service and do $2 per month, or it's a lot of stress
True,
for some of it. So maybe we
true,
can
true. I
start
agree.
going into a bit more, details, and maybe there's some kind of things you want to show off for. I'm curious. So when you want to check, or when you want to audit and identify problems on a WordPress website, how do you approach it? Where do you start from?
So basically, for me, I always start with the speed test. I think, let me share my screen. That should be easier to do a quick. Sorry, just one moment. That should be okay. Let me share my screen. Let me know when you can see it, please.
I still trying to load. Oh, it doesn't. Uh, okay, I think I see Google.
Yes. Can you see it now? Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so my favorite tool for speed testing is GTmetrix. The other good one is web page test, but I have been using them for a long time now, and I think it's one of the best with like easiest to read waterfall charts. Web page test is
Okay.
good, but their waterfall charts are not interactive as much in my opinion. So I mean, nothing against them. Of course, they're good. Maybe it's more of like of a, personal choice, I should say.
That's the
And
first time I see somebody prefer something not web page test, because a lot of folks I've had on the podcast,
yep,
web page test is like
exactly,
gold standard.
exactly. And recently, GTmetrix, removed all of their like free options and stuff. But we have been sticking with GTmetrix. I think they provide you fewer things, but easier to understand interface, in my opinion. So, what works. Why change something, but if it's working? So for
100%.
me, exactly. So for me, how I usually approach is this is an example website. So usually, first of all, I would do a speed test on GTmetrix. This is the first thing, and look at the waterfall charts to see. I mean, what's the problem? Where is the issue? What's happening? And for example, let's take a quick look at this one, this example website. You see LCP is pretty high, and like 10.7 seconds is, I think, one of the slowest you might have seen recently. But there are people out there still uh, having such slow websites. And the reason for this one is I believe it's like built quite old. So how I start is, first of all, I would look at the initial server response. Let's see the initial server response. How long is that taking? And usually anything above 300 milliseconds is not ideal. That's just an average number that we try to work with. And if you're loading it via Edge, via CDNs, it's sometimes even like 50 or 60 milliseconds only. And that's how it should be ideally. But there are some limitations with WordPress, so still you can have it pretty fast if you want. So we look at waterfall charts. Uh, for the biggest issue, if someone wants to like just optimize their website quickly, is to look at the third-party scripts. So how I do it is I will write this one, dentistry, and what it does is, sorry, excuse me, let me copy this. Okay, so for example, this is okay. So what this does is it works just like Chrome DevTools. I thought it would be easier to show it here.
Yeah.
And what it does is it just excludes all the scripts that are coming from their own website. So all you are seeing right now is third-party scripts, and these are usually the biggest culprit. A lot of times you are loading stuff from third-party scripts that are slowing your website. And if you want to just quickly check how your actual website performs, how fast is your server, just just spin up a staging server and remove everything from the third party and see how your website performs. And if it's still slow, then you got some serious work to do. So we look
Yes.
at like third-party scripts like this. And the other thing is, look at the waterfalls. Now you can see here what's taking longer. So for example, in this case, there are some images that are taking a lot longer with this delay. That's one thing. If I were to do it, if I was using Cloudflare provide option to host Google Fonts on your own domain with just one click. So this
I
would be
see.
one more thing I would look at. So what it does is you enable Cloudflare fonts in Cloudflare, and it automatically fetches the Google fonts and loads it, caches on their own Edge server, which makes it like super fast. So one of the aims of speed optimization is to load as much stuff as you can on your own domain, because that's going to reduce an extra DNS lookup. That's going to reduce an extra overhead in that case. So I think that's third-party scripts is one of the biggest one. So another one we see a lot of times people are using like all the analytics script on a single page. So they're using Facebook, Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics separately, Google Ads script separately,
That's a lot.
and they're loading. Yep. And exactly. And I have seen this like a lot of times, because what happens is the marketing person came in, they added Google Ads script without knowing how it was working. Okay. Then another developer came in, they added analytics. Okay. So another one company, especially the big businesses they were working with, they say, okay, that company prefers Facebook pixel. Okay, well, let's add that too. And the biggest one I try to ask people not to use Hotjar, the analytics script, basically heat maps for website. If you're loading everything on the website and you are loading everything in the header, everything at top, they're just going to compete in loading. And none of your critical stuff, none of the above the fold images that you see when you initially load a website, they're not going to load because they're competing to load all these third-party scripts. So
Yeah.
third-party scripts is one of the biggest issue. Load whatever you can locally. And excuse me, so this includes JavaScript libraries too.
You mean third-party JavaScript libraries?
Uh, Sorry, come again?
You mentioned that this includes JavaScript library, but I wasn't sure if you were referring to third-party scripts or if you are referring to your own JavaScript libraries you added to your own project consciously.
Yes, so I am referring to both.
Okay.
So if you are using, for example, you're using jQuery, you are using stuff in your theme, there is like absolutely no point in, there's very little advantage to loading it from a CDN. And there are security issues too. Yeah, I mean, for example, a CDN or a third party who's hosting these JavaScript libraries, there is a security incident there, your website will get affected. Yes, there are integrity checks, hashes, and so on and so forth that you can use on your web pages, but for most businesses, they think it's too much work, and it's just easier and simpler and faster to just host it locally if you can.
Yeah, I see. So then this answers the question from the chat just now a while ago that if can third party scripts affect website ranking? So you already have your answer, yes. And then does also third party images affect
True.
the website? But I think they are referring to website ranking, I guess, not directly the performance. So I would say ranking it's a whole different topic in terms of
True.
like does the content meet the user expectation, besides web page loading, like it could also be like the images you use, do they convey meaning? Do you have alt text?
Hmm.
Do people find value in your page when they look at it? And because you might have the fastest website, but if someone comes to your website and you just have a lot of lorem ipsum and all and gibberish text, they will leave
Yep.
within 1 second, and that signals to Google that users are not staying
Absolutely.
on your website. So that would affect your ranking. One of the things anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But can you show that GT metrics again? Because I think I
Of course.
agree that scripts and a lot of third-party resources affect the loading performance. But here it looks like most of it are coming from the actual domain itself. I think, like this 1 second, the one at the top is took 1 second to get back like the basic HTML, and I think there was also
Correct.
another one lower, down below it. We have another 600,
Yes.
and
Correct.
we have this
Yep.
one JavaScript that took 1 second to
Yep.
load, same from the same domain. But is it JavaScript of images? Is it a JPEG?
Exa-
Ah, it's a JPEG image. I thought it was
it's an
JavaScript.
image, and exactly. No, it's an image. So I mean, as far as I see, I don't think so. There is any caching
Yeah.
window. I don't see Imperva. They're using.
Well,
I think it's more like a firewall, I think. if I'm not mistaken.
Because it looks like they have some kind of old CDN or something. But the image, how, what's the size of the image?
The size of this image, let's take a look.
That's
So this
five.
image is,
I think it's 500
yep,
kilobytes.
it's 1332. Yep.
Yeah,
Correct, 500 kilobytes.
yeah,
And yes, I think an image of this size can definitely be optimized, maybe using WebP or AWIF or any modern format. And JPEG, you can even optimize JPEG images with loss C optimization as well in most cases. So it can definitely be smaller.
yeah. So they have like this very slow server response and then a lot of big images. So that's already taking up like 3 to 4 seconds of the
Exactly.
time for the page. And I mean, that's already where they have like huge problems from their website that they could also start
Yep.
optimizing from. Yeah.
Yep. I
Okay.
was looking. Let me show you. Please.
No, go ahead. I was
So
going to ask
let
you
me show you.
to. I was
Please.
going to ask you
Sorry.
to go ahead with what you were going to demo about how you do your audit. So please continue.
Of course. Thank you. I think there is a bit delay, so I think overran you. Sorry for that.
No
So,
problem.
for example, if you look at, thank you. If you look at our own website, uh, ideally you are supposed to have all these resources. Everything you are loading should be, if you're using Cloudflare, for example, it should be CF cache status hit. This suggests that this resource was cached by CDN. And same goes for the rest of the resources. So anything from JavaScript to CSS to images, all the static resources that don't change are supposed to be served from the CDN. And what happens is, if you see, I mean, our website has an LCP for 483 milliseconds. So the other one we were looking at it was loading at 10.7 seconds. If both were same businesses, I mean, I don't see why someone would go to a slower website intentionally. And that's where the difference comes in.
Yeah.
When I optimize website, I try not to change like any look. A lot of clients come in and they ask, okay, so are you going to remove everything? We say no, nothing is going to be removed from the website. It's going to look exactly as is. And a lot of people don't understand how can you call this work if it looks exactly like it was looking before. But that's the thing that we developers and we speed optimization people do. We optimize everything from the back end. It should look exactly as is. It
Yeah.
should still load faster, caching, server optimization, page caching, and a lot more.
So basically, what you are saying is before you tweak your framework, be it WordPress or I don't know, Webflow or Next.js, you should look at, the things behind the scenes, like your server, is it using HTTP 2 or 3? You should also look at things like, oh, can I serve some requests from the CDN so that, it's cached closer to the users and can respond faster. That's what I see you're talking about here. And we can see that drastically from your own website performance compared to the other.
Yep, correct.
And I can imagine with the one you showed, like there's a jQuery resource there that returned probably 404, but you already spent 610 milliseconds doing nothing.
Exactly. I mean, 404s are another biggest one. 404 requests don't get cached, obviously. And a lot of times, people come to us discussing this stuff and they say, okay, I mean, it's a 404. Does it affect any functionality? We said, no, not directly, but it affects your speed. Because if you have 2, 3, 4 404s, every time, no matter how optimized the rest of your website is, it's going to try to load those resources, and then those requests are almost like absolutely not going to be cached, and they shouldn't be because it's a 404. So
Yeah.
that's another important one to look in Chrome, DevTools, or whatever browser you use. And you see in console if you have missing assets, images, CSS, JS files, and fix those before you dig into deeper stuff.
Yeah. And that I think those are very useful tips. So, any other stuff you want to show us regarding how you audit websites before we move on to the next question?
Yeah. Oh, so some other things we can look at is another big one is fonts, and absolutely important. So here we have only one font, which is actually excellent. Even if the web page is slow, they're using only a single font. And fonts is another big one. Uh, it is, I mean, it's common to see people. I think any website could need 2, 3, 4 fonts, but a web page loading 5 Google fonts with 5 font weights each, so equaling 25 different files being loaded, or a
Yeah.
lot more than that, is not ideal, and it's happening. Especially, frankly, I'm not a fan of heavy page builders like Elementor, Divi, and some others. So what they do is, yes, they make it much easier to build your website, but they add so much stuff, so much bloat to your website, that especially if you're building from scratch, if you're starting a new website, it's not worth it. Go with a cleaner theme. Go with something like GeneratePress. They have very, very clean themes, absolutely minimal, and then add stuff on top. It's one of the things that we recommend, if especially if we are rebuilding or if the client is open to major changes, because a slow theme, I mean, there is only so much you can optimize. You can try to optimize it, but there might be an asset or JavaScript here and there. Sometimes you're, for example, loading a review widget, and just for the stars or just for one review, you're loading a whole JavaScript and CSS and bundle just to
Yeah.
show a small single review on a web page. And there is no purpose to, there is no reason to do it that way. There are tons of other ways to improve it.
Yeah, I don't use WordPress, but this whole like bloat and a lot of JavaScript and a lot of unwanted files, reminds me of when I used to build apps with .NET, and we just drag and drop a lot of component. And
Yep.
for me, as long as something shows on the page, I don't really care what's happening behind the scenes. But luckily, most of the customers were enterprise organizations, so they were like intranet apps. So they were
Yep.
maybe a bit slow for some seconds, but at least faster than if it was hosted on the internet.
Yep.
Like it's
Exactly.
over time I started paying attention to all these topics and to see how it works. Yeah. So are they?
Exactly. It Please. It
Sorry,
is
why?
important to mention here that WordPress itself is not slow. I mean, a lot of people think, okay, if you're building a website in WordPress, it's supposed to be slow. That's not the case. If you are building it correctly, if you're so if you're using a fast hosting, a fast theme, a properly optimized website, a good server, you are using page caching, fewer plugins, I
Yeah.
see no reason WordPress cannot be faster. So I was looking at one of the bundle website, one of the latest JS frameworks, and I ran it through GTmetrix and some other stuff, and it was loading a huge JavaScript, and especially for the initial load, uh, I
Which
think it
website?
was I think it was a doc for Superbase or something. It was their documentation. I don't remember exactly, but it was loading a big chunk of React, and I'm not a React expert, so
Probably
I might not be.
a lot of Next.js scripting over there, most likely.
Yep, exactly. I mean, these frameworks are great when they work, but I always think if you can do something simply, you can do something within HTML, within CSS, within minimal JavaScript. I mean, you should. There is absolutely no reason to uh, put one JavaScript library for each element you are loading.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I agree with the same point, like yes, your tooling matters, but sometimes they are not usually the culprit or the problem. A lot of people I see, I used to build website with Next.js as well, but not I haven't used it in maybe 2 or 3 years, except maybe there's still some old project I have on it. But it's the whole move to Next.js then was because it's supposed to be faster, like especially when you deploy on Vercel, they give you a lot of optimization that,
Yep.
if you decide to host yourself, it will be very hard to get that kind of performance. And then you have, use Next.js for everything. And over time, over the years, I've seen a lot of people with very slow website or heavy website built on Next.js that is supposed to be fast. And I moved away slowly out of Next.js more because, for some applications, it's just too much JavaScript that I don't really see the need for it. But other times too, it was also because I've worked with some project of and developers, and it's very easy for some people to misuse, and then you have not just slow loading website, but also slow to use. So like your INP and other factors are also very slow because
Yep.
it does a lot of re-rendering behind the scenes, and it's just crazy how people can misuse those tools and use them for everything, even outside of what I think they are best at. But
What is
sorry, go ahead.
if I may ask, what is your if I may ask, what is your favorite framework or way to build a fast website these days? Of course, it's a non-WordPress question, probably.
Yeah, non-WordPress. So for me, it depends on what I'm building heavily. Um,
Hmm.
Throughout last year, when I started looking into like building CDNs, how CDNs works and what performance, I've started to go use more unpopular tools to a lot of people, and I tried HTMX. So now
Hmm. Okay.
I'm leaning towards multi-page applications a lot now, because
Very
most of
nice.
what I need to do, I think, do not require like single page applications. So I'm leaning more towards multi-page apps. And I tried
Hmm.
HTMX for cases where I needed JavaScript, and I think it's
Excellent.
good, especially if you don't want to use React. And there are some very nice features I saw from it that I think, if you compare to React, it's quite nice. But if you learned web development with React, it might be very hard to change, because they also have the creator also have this concept of hypermedia systems, and I think I also like the patterns they describe and all. But there's a lot you can do. So for me, maybe I could just use there's a server framework called Nitro, and I use Preact. So not React, but
Nice.
Preact for one project to
Very nice.
render, do server side rendering on the server for
Hmm.
multi-page apps, and then use the HTMX for cases. But
Very nice.
now I'm also trying out Astro. So I have my website on Astro now,
Okay.
and I like Astro because it's like a proper framework, or like me trying to build my own framework to do my own stuff. So I try to follow their own patterns and let them worry about some of the other optimizations. So I use Astro because
Awesome.
it allows you to do like multi-page apps and or static sites apps, without needing JavaScript. And for pages where you need JavaScript, is good. You could just use maybe React or jQuery, or even your own vanilla JavaScript just for that page. They
That's
have a pattern, they call it now server island. So
okay. Very nice.
for, for me, that is how I would go. I would most likely try to use Astro, but for JavaScript full stack applications if you need. And if I'm using something else, maybe like .NET or Go, for example, then I will go for HTML because it's much lightweight and you can do a lot with it.
Very nice.
Yeah. So we
Excellent.
can try. So I have a new website that I'm making to put some blog out there and also some services, but I haven't really optimized it because right now I'm just focused on content for it. So it's built on Astra. We can see uh, how fast it is
Of
to
course.
load and then use that to measure. But part of it is hosted on Cloudflare anyway. Cloudflare work as well.
Awesome.
Let's see how. I'll drop it in the chat and you can just maybe put it
Of course.
in your on GTmetrix.
Okay, let me. Okay, let's test it.
Hopefully it's fast.
I'm sure it should be. It looks like, but let's take a look. Okay. So, is this based on WordPress or let's
No,
see?
this is built on Astro.
No, it's not. It's not. Okay, so that's the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I can already see. I think it's fast now. Oh, doing fantastic. Pretty fast.
Yeah, so but I still have
So
to
we have.
configure caching for some assets, but I haven't really taken the time because it's fast enough, I think. So I'm not really trying to optimize for it to get way
Anything else?
faster.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the biggest thing. You are loading on Cloudflare, excellent, and you are loading like no bloat, nothing, clean, simple website with I think not many even images, like super simple. And that's how ideally websites should be. If you don't need an image, I mean, don't put it. If you don't need a JavaScript or third party,
I actually had images there, like all those articles had images, but I didn't see the need for it because it's just too much on the page. So I decided to remove it. It also makes it load faster with fewer images. So
exactly, exactly. I
only the
mean, yes,
first
of
one.
course. Yep. It looks very nice and clean. I mean, you can probably put more images, but I think this looks pretty clean. I think I like the layout quite a lot.
Yeah, so can we look at the waterfall chart to see if there's something
Absolutely.
bad to improve there?
So I think looking pretty good already, but maybe you can host this one from your own domain. So one less DNS lookup. I mean, that's a minor, but still possible optimization. So you can host this image on your,
Yeah,
basically, you can just,
I mean, I think it's the LCP, so it still loads fine and does fine. But I'm also like trying to add my own image CDN on top because most other ones are too expensive. So I'm trying to build my own CDN to have, so the website will have a lot of images. So instead of me trying to pay for a lot of things, I want to have one central image service and use it for multiple projects that I have. So not just this website. So I'm currently
very nice,
working on
very
having
nice,
that.
very nice. One question, if I may ask, why not use Cloudflare for images and use it as a CDN and build your own?
You mean to use their image service?
To use Cloudflare, if you're proxying already through Cloudflare, you can proxy all the images via Cloudflare, host on your own domain, and they would get cached by Cloudflare. Is this
Yeah,
something have you considered?
yeah, that's what I would do, but it's not yet on production yet for my image service. So now I'm using a third
Excellent.
party image CDN, but not from Cloudflare. But they are quite fast, so I also
Very nice.
just keep it at that.
That looks super fast. Fantastic.
Yeah. But I think a few things that
Amazing.
I'm thinking of adding to it are more like, so I'm thinking of adding speculation rules. Uh, I also want to add like early hints, but then the problem with Cloudflare
Early
is
hints, yes.
Cloudflare does early hints for you automatically. For me, I want to control the early hints part, but I don't have that with Cloudflare, so I'm not really bothered about that one so much. So, but the next part for me is to look at the um, to add like speculation rules, and then
Awesome.
for the actual blog post, I need to do some kind of tweaking, so to for the image
Very
service to
nice.
use the right images, because on mobile, I think
Very
on
nice.
mobile the image still uses a bigger image, so I need to connect it with my service so that it can use smaller images when it's on mobile and look faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, it's still loading bigger image, and I don't think we are using responsive images here.
No, I don't think. I mean, I'm using the CDN, so I don't think the CDN automatically changes that. I mean, I haven't really done a lot of testing or auditing on the side. It's more like just trying to put the
Nice.
content there and at least doing the most basic part
Yep,
of
yep.
uh, the performance.
Absolutely. I would say it looks super clean, super nice. I mean, the layout is very nice.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get back to WordPress and, and let go of Astro for a
Absolutely.
moment. So I think we've got probably 5-10 minutes to wrap up, and
Absolutely.
I have questions here, but I don't want to look through them. I just, from your perspective, is there something you think we've not covered? Because we mentioned how important it is to
Uh,
use a CDN. We mentioned getting a
mhm,
fast host. We've mentioned using HTTP 2 or 3.
mhm.
We've mentioned not loading a lot of third-party script or images as well. So I don't know
So
from your
there is an
part.
interesting one.
Sorry, go ahead.
There is an interesting one I was thinking about. Uh, you can load Google Analytics from your own domain. So basically, there are two ways to do that. Google Analytics, I have seen one of the things slowing down websites most, and of course, you cannot remove that in most cases. So what I have found is server-side tagging. So from provided by Google, that's one way. It might be easy to set up. It might not be easy for some people. But there is a product called Cloudflare Zaraz, and
Okay.
they have, you might have checked it. They have excellent way. You can just add your own tag. You just add the Google tag, G tag, and it automatically fetches the Google Analytics script and it hosts it on your own domain. So these are the kind of optimization I would call advanced, because uh, when there is stuff you must use like analytics and scripts, and you can still host them on your own domain, which is less likely in most cases, less possible. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. If you can host third-party scripts on your own site, by all means do it. But obviously test it, make sure it's not breaking anything, make sure the data is accurate afterwards. But I think it's one of the things that people should know. And we recommend Cloudflare for all our website, because I think it's, no matter the server you have, but it's one of the easiest win you can have. Use Cloudflare, or frankly any other CDN, but Cloudflare is a bit has a bit more control, a lot more features, especially given their free tiers as well.
I
So
think
you can do a lot of stuff with them.
we are doing a lot of free promotion for Cloudflare here today. They should pay us.
Exactly. I was thinking about that. I mean, but I think probably every other website is using them anyways. So, but they should, of
Yeah.
course. You're right.
Yeah, but I've had folks from Akama, like team and
Yep.
Robin, very smart folks, and even Robin worked on the Quick protocol. So, I'm sure they have a very
Yep.
fast CDN, but they seem very
Exactly.
enterprising to me. But
True.
it's
True.
interesting how Cloudflare sort of took the market, because 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a lot of businesses even here in Germany, would go for Akamai, and then later some people were considering Fastly. But these days it's like everywhere I
Yep.
go, I see like Cloudflare. I also use it for my own services
True.
because like it's very easy. So if I also build my own image service, so I would also have it as a CDN in front of my product, or maybe try Akamai as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Akamai is great. I haven't explored it as much as probably some other people, but I think Cloudflare is, uh, based on my experience, it has been really entry friendly. So, like, really friendly
Yeah,
for someone just coming to speeds, and especially for small, medium, and even a lot of large businesses too. Their enterprise plans and stuff. I mean, they provide so much for free and so much for so many features, and they keep improving them, building upon that. That I mean, it's a must-have for probably any WordPress website these days.
yeah. Although I've heard horror stories about Cloudflare in terms of the enterprise pricing part. I've seen people that spoke badly about it. So for free users, if you don't have a lot of
True,
traffic, like when I say a lot, probably
true,
like 1 terabyte, 100 gigabytes,
something like that.
then that should be fine
Yeah,
for you. But when you start using a lot, I've heard that they try to use some
true.
salesy tactics to get you to the enterprise plan, and the enterprise
Yeah,
plan is
I
very
have read
expensive.
those tweets as well.
Yeah,
Exactly, I have read those tweets as well. Absolutely,
yeah. So I think we'll slowly wrap up, and
of course.
um, do you, so let's we've talked about WordPress. We've shown people what you can do for them. I think that shows how much Usama can do for you for your WordPress business. If you have any question, feel free to message him at wpquik.com, or leave a comment in the channel, and we try to reach out to
Absolutely,
Usama and get across to him. But besides that, any
absolutely.
other work you want to, let people know about, or where can they find you and learn more about your WordPress expertise?
So I am mostly active on LinkedIn, as
Okay.
we met there as well. And
Yeah.
the other best place to reach me is wpquik.com. So we have been trying to help more and more people, and the aim is to make as many WordPress websites fast as we can. We also offer free initial audits and consultation. So if anyone has any issues, to make it easier, to make easier into the entry, people are not certain. Okay, we work with people, we don't know how it will be. So we try to offer them at least free initial consultation to make them understand what they need, where to start, what would be the work plan. So anyone has any WordPress issues, anything they're not certain about, feel free to get in touch with via email, via our contact form on the website, or via LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to analyze their website, give them the best recommendations we can, and then see how best to help them.
Awesome. So we are also trying to run experiment, if people are interested, to do once in a month or in 2 months WordPress performance audit for you live here on the podcast. So if you have your
Absolutely.
WordPress site that you would like to get opinion about, if it fast, what you can do to fix it, what to change, and feel free to leave a comment under the video below, and we'll try our best to schedule one of our streams for you to use. And if you have a particular topic question regarding WordPress performance, or optimization, or image optimization, also drop a comment in the under the video, and we'll try to reach out and see how we can help for free. If it requires a lot of work, yes, we
Okay.
can decide to bill you. But for now, we try to do community service and help other developers and businesses to get started with their SEO. I remain always your host, Peter Mbanugo. You can find me on my personal website with pmbanugo.me. Over there, you find the link to my YouTube channel. You also find a link to my GitHub, my LinkedIn. So if you have any challenges, feel free to reach out to me. This channel is focused on web performance, but we are also diving a little bit into DevOps for people that are developers. So two broad topics. So feel free to subscribe and share with your friends. Let us know. And I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Usama, for valuable experience and time and showing me a bit of WordPress, though I'm not a WordPress person. But it's very valuable.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was a lovely chat.
Yeah, lovely. Have a nice day, folks.